Today, we're putting 5 seriously impressive AI video generators head to head. And these aren't just random tools. They're backed by some pretty big companies. And we're gonna see which one actually delivers when it comes to realistic visuals, movement, detail, and those shots that make you look twice. I'm testing all 5 with different prompts, 5 rounds each. So by the end, we should have a clear idea of which one comes out on top.
I'll share my personal winner, but I want to hear your take too. So let me know in the comments which tool impressed you the most. And while you're there, tell me what country you're watching from. I'm always curious to see where these videos are reaching. All right, let's get into it. One quick thing before we start, these tools aren't completely free. Most give you some credits to test things out, and many refresh ththose credits daily. So you can still try a few prompts without paying right away. And if you really like one, you can always check out the paid option later.
Tool number 5 is Canva AI. So first, just open up your browser, search for Canva AI, head over to the official website, and log into your account. Once you're in, we can get straight into the testing, because I want to see how it handles completely different types of scenes. We're starting with the first prompt, Horseback Mountain Sprint. First-person view riding a horse at insane speed along a narrow mountain trail. A few riders racing behind, natural horse movement, dust flying through the air, strong wind, realistic camera shake, huge mountain scenery, photorealistic 16:9. And okay, this is actually a pretty good start.
The horse movement looks natural, the environment has a nice amount of detail, and the whole thing generated way faster than I expected. I wasn't sitting here waiting forever for the clip to show up, which is always nice. Now, let's make the scene a little more intense with our second prompt, Helicopter Canyon Run. First-person view from a helicopter flying at high speed between enormous canyon walls. Rocks rushing past close to the camera, realistic aircraft vibration, atmospheric haze, cinematic sunlight, photorealistic aviation footage, 16:9. Yeah, this one is looking pretty solid too. You can really feel the speed as those canyon walls fly past the camera, and the lighting gives the scene a lot more depth. It doesn't just look like a flat AI-generated background either. All right, let's switch things up again because I want to see how Canva handles animals and water. The third prompt is Great White Breach, cinematic close-up of a massive great white shark suddenly breaching beside a small boat. Huge splash, detailed wet skin, realistic ocean movement. Natural wildlife documentary style, 16:9. And honestly, this came out clean. The water movement is doing a lot here, and the shark itself has some pretty good detail. For a scene like this, there are a bunch of little things that could easily look weird, but overall, this one holds together nicely. So far, Canva is doing better than I expected, but we've still got 2 tests left, so let's keep going. Next up, Dirt Bike Ravine Jump. First-person view from a dirt bike launching across a huge rocky ravine. Handlebars and front wheel visible, dust blasting behind, massive drop underneath, realistic suspension movement, and natural camera shake, 16:9. Okay, this one definitely feels like an action shot. You've got the bike, the dust, the huge drop, and the camera shake all happening together. So there's a lot for the model to figure out. And yeah, the overall movement looks pretty good. Now we're at the final Canva test. So let's make this one a little crazier. Fighter Jet Canyon Pass. First-person view from a fighter jet speeding through an extremely narrow mountain canyon. Cliffs rushing past on both sides. Realistic cockpit vibration. Natural motion blur, cinematic aviation style, 16:9. And yeah, this is a pretty strong way to wrap up the 5 tests. The speed feels convincing, the canyon has good detail, and the cockpit movement adds that extra bit of realism. So after running all 5 prompts, Canva is definitely off to a solid start. It handled everything from animals and outdoor action to helicopters and fighter jets pretty well, and the generation speed was also a nice bonus. All right, let's move on to tool number 4, Vibes AI. This one is from Meta, and I was honestly pretty curious about this one because we're throwing some seriously chaotic scenes at it. We're not just testing simple camera movements here. We've got roller coasters, giant waves, skydiving, helicopters, all kinds of stuff where the model has to keep track of a lot of movement at once. Overall, the results are looking pretty good. Every now and then you might catch a random glitch or a small detail that looks a little off, but it's not happening constantly. And there's actually a feature here that I really like. Vibes can generate 4 videos at the same time. So instead of running one prompt, waiting for it, then starting again, you can get multiple variations in one go. That can save you a decent amount of time when you're trying to find the best version of a shot. Anyway, let's put it through the same 5-round test and see how it holds up. First up, we're going big with extreme roller coaster. First-person view on a huge roller coaster dropping down an almost vertical track above a massive city. Realistic track vibration, strong wind distortion, intense speed. Photorealistic, 16:9. And wow, this one really does a good job of selling the speed. The track movement feels pretty intense, and having that massive city underneath makes the whole shot feel even bigger. You definitely get that stomach drop feeling from the perspective. Now let's switch from a roller coaster to the ocean with our second prompt. Jet ski giant wave. First-person view on a jet ski speeding straight toward a huge ocean wave and launching over the top. Water hitting the camera lens, realistic movement, and rough ocean physics. Cinematic adventure footage, 16:9. This one came out really nice too. The water has a lot of movement. The spray hitting the camera adds some extra realism, and that first-person perspective makes it feel like you're actually sitting on the jet ski. All right, let's completely change the vibe for the third test. Blue whale breach. A massive blue whale suddenly jumping completely out of the ocean next to a tiny boat. Enormous splash. Realistic water droplets, natural dramatic lighting, detailed wildlife documentary style, 16:9. And the scale is definitely the best part of this one. Seeing this enormous whale next to such a tiny boat immediately makes the scene feel huge. The splash and water droplets also add a nice amount of movement, instead of making the whale just look like it's floating there. Okay, fourth test. Now we're taking things way higher with mountain skydiving. First-person skydiving between enormous snow-covered mountains. Clouds rushing upward at extreme speed. Realistic body movement, strong wind turbulence, huge cinematic landscape, 16:9. This one gives you a really strong sense of height and speed. The mountains make the environment feel massive, while the clouds moving underneath the camera add another layer of motion. It's the kind of shot that can look really good as an opening visual. And now we're down to the final vibes test. Waterfall helicopter pass. Helicopter flying extremely close to a massive waterfall before making a sharp turn around the cliff. Water spray hitting the camera, realistic rotor vibration, cinematic mist, ultra photorealistic, 16:9. Yeah, this is a pretty strong final result. The helicopter movement, waterfall spray, and mist all work together really well, and the camera angle gives it that big cinematic feel. So after all 5 tests, I'd say vibes is looking pretty solid overall. The ability to generate 4 variations at once is definitely a nice advantage, especially when you're experimenting with different prompts. Just keep an eye out for those occasional AI glitches, because some generations can still have a weird moment or two. All right, now we're getting into tool number 3, Google Vids. And this one is especially interesting because we're using the VO model for these generations. So I really want to see how it handles all the fast movement and complicated scenes we're throwing at it. And honestly, after running all 5 tests, the generation quality is looking pretty strong. The motion feels natural in a lot of the clips, and even when we give it a scene with a ton of things happening at once, the results stay pretty convincing. So let's not waste any more time and jump into the first prompt. Jungle dirt bike. First-person view riding a motorcycle at high speed through a dense tropical jungle. Branches flying past the camera, mud splashing onto the lens. Realistic suspension movement, natural high-speed motion blur, cinematic adventure style. 16:9. And yeah, this one is looking really good. There's a lot going on here. The bike is moving fast, branches are flying past, there's mud hitting the camera, but the whole scene still feels connected. The camera movement also helps sell that high-speed feeling without making it look completely chaotic. Next up, we're going underwater. Well, not exactly. We're going with Orca Breach, a huge orca launching straight out of the ocean right beside the camera. Realistic water displacement and droplets, dramatic open ocean background, authentic wildlife documentary cinematography, 16:9. And the water effects on this one are definitely one of the highlights. As the orca comes out of the water, you can see all those little droplets and the movement around it, which makes the shot feel much more alive. All right, let's make things a little more risky with the third test. Snowmobile Ridge Run. First-person view on a snowmobile, racing along an extremely narrow snowy mountain ridge. Massive drop beside the trail, snow blasting toward the camera. Realistic suspension and terrain movement, 16:9. This one creates a lot of tension just from the location. You've got this tiny snowy ridge, a huge drop right next to it, snow flying toward the camera, and the snowmobile bouncing over the terrain. So even without adding anything extra, the environment itself makes the shot feel intense. Now let's completely switch gears and bring in a fighter jet. Canyon jet dive. Fighter jet rapidly diving through a gigantic canyon. Massive rock walls rushing past dangerously close. Realistic cockpit reflections. Aircraft vibration and high-speed motion blur. 16:9. This is definitely one of the harder prompts in the test because the model has to deal with extreme speed, tight spaces, reflections, vibration, and all those canyon details at the same time. But honestly, the result holds up really well. The rock walls moving past the jet give it a strong sense of speed, and the cockpit details make the shot feel more grounded. And now we've reached the fifth and final Google Vids test. Whitewater rafting, first-person view riding at the front of a raft through intense canyon rapids, huge waves crashing over the camera, realistic water spray, visible paddle movement, and strong natural camera shake. 16:9. This one is seriously dynamic. The camera gets hit with water, the raft is bouncing around, you can see the paddle movement, and everything is moving at the same time. That makes it a pretty good test for how well the model handles chaotic motion. So after all 5 generations, Google Vids is definitely giving us some strong results. The Veo model is handling different environments, fast camera movement, water, vehicles, and action scenes really well. And honestly, this is one of the tools I was most interested in seeing before we started the comparison. All right, we're down to tool number 2 now, Qwen AI. Qwen is from Alibaba, a Chinese company, and this one has a slightly different feel compared to the tools we've tested so far. The results are definitely usable, but I'd put the overall generation quality more in the average range when you compare it with some of the stronger results we've already seen. The clips are around 5 seconds long, so these are more like quick visual shots rather than longer sequences. And every once in a while, you might notice a small glitch, an odd movement, or one of those little AI details that doesn't quite look right. Nothing too surprising, but it's worth keeping in mind. Still, I don't want to judge it before putting it through the full test. So let's see what Qwen can actually do with these more demanding prompts. First up, we've got Wolfpack Sprint, low cinematic POV tracking alongside a wolfpack sprinting through deep snow. Snow kicking up under their paws, visible breath in the cold air, realistic fur movement, dramatic wilderness atmosphere. 16:9. And this one has a really cool winter vibe. The snow flying up as the wolves run gives the scene a lot of movement, and the visible breath adds a nice touch to the cold environment. If you look closely, there can be a few little imperfections, but overall, the shot works pretty well. Now let's leave the snow behind and head into the desert with our second prompt, Desert Horse Race. First-person view galloping across massive desert dunes with multiple riders racing alongside, huge clouds of dust behind them, realistic horse movement, strong wind, and warm golden hour lighting. 16:9. The lighting on this one is probably my favorite part. That warm golden hour look combined with all the dust gives the scene a really cinematic feel. And the riders moving across the dunes make it feel much more alive. All right, now we're adding even more moving objects to the frame with helicopter formation. 3 helicopters flying at high speed through a massive red rock canyon. Tight formation, aggressive banking, realistic rotor wash, atmospheric haze, and cinematic scale. 16 by 9. This is definitely a harder prompt because we've got 3 helicopters, a tight formation, fast movement, and a narrow environment all happening at once. The overall result is decent, although depending on the generation, you might notice some strange details around the helicopters, but the main motion and composition are still there. Now for the 4th test, we're going even crazier. Wingsuit canyon flight. First-person wingsuit flight at extreme speed through a narrow mountain canyon. Rocky walls rushing past just meters away, realistic turbulence, natural motion blur, and a dramatic valley reveal. 16 by 9.
This one is definitely pushing Quen harder. The speed looks pretty cool, and the canyon gives it a lot of visual impact. But this is also where those small AI glitches can become easier to spot. So it's a good example of what the model can do, while also showing where it still has some room to improve. And now we're at the final Quen test. Crocodile encounter. Water level POV moving through a tropical swamp as a gigantic crocodile suddenly surfaces only a few meters away. Detailed scales, realistic ripples, and tense wildlife documentary cinematography. 16 by 9. I actually like the setup of this one because the camera is already sitting right at water level, so you're basically waiting for something to happen. Then the crocodile suddenly comes up just a few meters away, which gives the shot a nice little surprise moment. The ripples and swamp environment also help sell the scene. So after all 5 tests, I'd say Quen is definitely not a bad option if you just need quick 5-second generations. But compared with some of the other tools we've tested, the consistency is a bit more hit or miss. Some clips look pretty solid, while others can have those noticeable AI moments. And now we finally reached the #1 spot. TikTok Symphony. This one comes from TikTok, and it's mainly focused on creating content for advertising and product-style visuals. So I was really curious to see how it would perform with these more polished commercial shots. And honestly, after running all 5 tests, the results are looking really strong. The footage has more of that finished ad feeling to it, especially when you look at the lighting, reflections, product details, and slow camera movements. So let's see if it can actually live up to that reputation. We're starting with the first prompt. Dark Premium Studio, wireless earbuds displayed on a glossy black surface, sharp white rim lighting, subtle blue glow, realistic reflections, slow macro camera push-in, luxury tech commercial, ultra photorealistic, 4K, 916. And right away, you can see why this type of prompt works well here. The setup is simple, but the lighting makes the earbuds stand out, and those reflections give the product a much more polished look. It feels like the kind of shot you'd expect to see in a real product ad. All right, let's move to the second test. Premium smartwatch against a deep black background. Dramatic side lighting, highlighting the metallic edges and glass, subtle reflections, slow cinematic camera movement, high-end tech advertisement. Ultra realistic, 4K, 9:16. This one is clean as well. The dark background keeps all the attention on the watch, while the side lighting picks up those metallic edges really nicely. And the slow camera movement makes it feel less like a basic AI clip and more like an actual product showcase. Now let's switch over to something a little more luxurious with the third prompt. Luxury perfume bottle centered on a glossy black pedestal. Warm golden rim light cutting through a dark atmosphere. Subtle haze and glass reflections. Slow, elegant camera push-in. Premium fragrance commercial. Photorealistic 4K, 916. Yeah, this one came out really nice. The warm lighting works especially well with the glass bottle, and the little bit of haze gives the background some depth without distracting from the product.
It has that expensive-looking commercial vibe without needing a complicated scene. Now for test number 4, we're changing the product completely. Premium electric shaver, displayed on a dark reflective surface. Dramatic red and white edge lighting emphasizing the design. Subtle cinematic smoke, slow macro camera movement. Luxury commercial aesthetic, ultra photorealistic, 4K, 916. This has a totally different look from the perfume shot, but the same basic advertising style still works really well. The red and white lighting gives the shaver a much stronger visual presence, while the subtle smoke adds some atmosphere without taking over the frame. And now we're down to the final symphony test. Sleek portable speaker on a glossy black platform inside a dark futuristic studio. Cyan blue rim lighting, subtle atmospheric particles, slow cinematic camera orbit, premium tech commercial look, ultra photorealistic 4K, 916. And honestly, this is a really strong one to finish on. The slow camera orbit gives us a nice view of the speaker from different angles, and that cyan blue lighting makes the whole setup feel futuristic without going overboard. So after putting TikTok Symphony through all 5 tests, I'd say it definitely delivered some of the cleanest advertising style footage in this entire comparison. The lighting, product presentation, reflections, and camera movement all work together really well. And after seeing these results, it makes a lot more sense why this kind of product-focused content is one of its main strengths. All right, so after putting all 5 tools through the same kind of testing, we've finally got a winner from my side. And for me, that's Google Vids. The biggest reason is the overall balance. The quality was strong, the motion felt pretty natural, and across all the different prompts, it stayed more consistent than the others. But that's just my take after testing them. And honestly, I don't want this to be the only opinion that matters here. I want to know what you guys thought. After seeing all 5 tools and all those different generations, which one would you actually pick as your winner? Was it Google Vids, or did another tool surprise you and take the top spot for you? Drop your answer in the comments, because I'm genuinely curious to see how different your picks are from mine. And if you want to try these tools yourself, or test out the same prompts I used throughout this video, I've put all the resources you need in the link in the description. You can check them out and see which one works best for your own projects. Anyway, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.